Hello, hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to today's live video on Jupiter entering Cancer. It is just around the corner. It's June 9th. I have been talking about this one and mentioning it so many times because it really is such a beautiful thing when a planet goes through the sign that it's exalted in and we get the best of Jupiter. Jupiter is the greater benefic. So, getting the best of Jupiter for 1 year is not something you want to miss. You want to get the best of Jupiter. Now, in this video, I'm going to go through the signs from Aries through Pisces on how this is going to most likely affect you, with a focus on what's happening on June 10th as it enters on the 9th, but I moved the chart to the 10th so I can start with Aries and go through. And Jupiter's in Cancer on the whole time. So, yeah, whatever house you have, Cancer in your chart is where you're going to get the best of Jupiter. So I have to warn you, make a little caveat here that not everybody gets the same Jupiter transit. I'm sorry. It's not always the best lottery win. We're not all winning the lottery. And here's my example of what Jupiter does in a house is it's going to make the house in your life, the house topics better. But what's better depends on how messed up your life is now. So, if your life is super messed up, Jupiter might not come in and fix everything. Jupiter might just fix one little thing and you're like, oh, I didn't get anything out of that transit. It's like, actually, you did. It was just limited to the house that Jupiter is in and limited because you've got other problems or whatever. You know what I mean? So this is where I think we have to, as a responsible astrologer, I have to manage your expectation of Jupiter, because this is one thing that disappointed the hell out of me when I first started learning astrology. Is I really over expected Jupiter to be like this magic button that would just, like a magic switch that would just like fix everything. And it's like, it doesn't always do that. So one of the examples I use for this is I have had more than one client that when Jupiter went through their seventh house, they got divorced. And that from the outside looking in, you would judge that and say, Jupiter did not make that situation better. What did Jupiter do? You would question, I thought Jupiter was good. Well, in this case, for these people, that was the best thing Jupiter could do. I'm not trying to gaslight you and say you have to be happy if you get divorced. I'm saying sometimes the situation is so bad, right? That the better thing is like, okay, or maybe, maybe it's more like, think of another situation. Like, let's say you get into a big accident and it's like a bunch of money and someone lends you the money. That might be Jupiter. There might still be an accident. Jupiter might still be present, but if you're not counting your blessings, you might miss it. Okay? So these are my two examples of how Jupiter can be there, but sometimes we miss it because we think it's just going to be good and we don't kind of factor in all of the things we have to factor in. Okay, so let me know if that makes sense, and let me know if you guys agree with that or you disagree, or how you've seen Jupiter show up in your life. For me, one of the ways Jupiter showed up in my life when I was young, in terms of looking back onto transits where the house my Jupiter was activated, is when I went to treatment and got sober when I was 14. You would not necessarily, yes, most people are like, yes, that's a good thing, but it's like, it could also be seen as a bad thing from the outside looking in. Like, what? You were in juvie as a teenager? You got arrested? You did bad things? You were separated from your family? That all sounds so bad. Like, what a negative experience. But at the same time, the ability to have the support to change the habit. I have Jupiter in the 6th house of habits, of where you spend your time. And for me, Jupiter rules my 4th house of home. So I literally was away from home getting better. So this is another example of a Jupiter transit that Maybe if I wasn't connected to my whole life and how that helped me, I might overlook that. You could overlook something like that. But it was better than before that. It was better than what would have happened if I didn't go to treatment at that time and get sober. It was much, much better. So, that's my little my little tirade on Jupiter. Because, we can easily miss Jupiter if we're not looking. We can easily miss Venus. It's so easy to miss the good things in our life. Why? Because they just happen to us and we don't necessarily know how hard it would be without that blessing because we didn't live it. I didn't live a life of not going to treatment. I lived a life of going to treatment and getting sober and having support and being in recovery when I was younger. So, I mean, I don't have the life of someone who didn't get that. So I can't, unless I like take a step back and really reflect on what would it have been like if I didn't have a sponsor and I didn't have a probation officer and I didn't have drug court and I didn't have all these things. And to be honest, this is how we honor Jupiter. So if you are like, I want to boost Jupiter, I want to get on Jupiter's good side, is to find something to be grateful for. Even if you hate 99.9% of the shit in your life right now, just be grateful. Even if you have a shitty job, be grateful that you have a shitty job and not a shittier job. And I'm laughing because I know as humans, sometimes people talk about gratitude. I'm like, enough already. I have a strong Saturn, but this is how we honor Jupiter. And when we honor the planets and we act as they would want us to, they bless us back. And so this is one of the ways to get the most out of a Jupiter transit is to practice gratitude. Okay. And then also to seize the opportunities that Jupiter brings during the time of the transit, knowing they are temporary and they're not going to last forever. And that is one of the things that, looking back, I'm like, I also kind of did that wrong too before, where if you don't know it's the Jupiter transit, it's only going to last a year, you can kind of think that, oh, it's just going to be like this for me now. And we don't know, right? We don't know when we have an opportunity if that's going to stay or disappear, right? So that's another thing that we can do with Jupiter going into Cancer in June is roughly just remember from June to June, know what house Jupiter is in, what house Cancer is in your chart, and say yes to the opportunities that come along. Here's what I would do. Think about it as if this was the only time this came along, would I say hell yes? Yes, then do that thing because it might not, this might not be a forever thing where you just get it all the time. Okay, so those are some thoughts about Jupiter. And there's more on Jupiter and Cancer. A lot of clients whose charts I've looked at, there's usually connection, usually there's community, usually you have support. And sometimes you're doing a thing that's very Jupiter and Cancer like starting a family or something. But I've seen people go on trips during Jupiter and Cancer. I've seen people make more money or their spouse makes more money, so more support. I've seen even in myself, like I was just looking at my last one. I was writing a song in South Korea during that time. So, and for me, Jupiter is in my 11th house of friends and community. So I was doing open mics. I was more connected to my community and really enjoying that kind of growth and that fun. I was like going to bluegrass things, like bluegrass concerts and stuff. It was so fun. It's such a fun memory to look back on. But the thing is that didn't continue, and that's okay. But I was just connected into that community at that time of my life. So I'm excited to see what Jupiter and Cancer is going to bring for all of us. And like I said, what we're doing in this video is I'm going to go through each of the signs and what it means for you, especially focusing on the upcoming entrance of Jupiter into Cancer on June 9th, 2025. If you want to know more, I also just did another video on the channel That was, I'm going to tell you what it was. I think it was Saturn entering Aries. Yeah. So you can watch that video as well. It's still going to apply to now. Saturn will be in Aries for a few months. So check that out. And also, don't forget to get my free guide to align your midheaven. It's free, it's a quick little read telling you what energy you can tap into to work with the natural energy of your midheaven in the astrology chart. So check out the link below for that and stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a little mini Neptune course soon. So just keep your eye on the channel or get on the email list if you want to be the first to know about that. Okay, going on to our actual content today. Remember, you can watch your sun, moon, and rising for this. So that's a thing you can do. So now we're going to Aries. So Jupiter entering Cancer for Aries is in that fourth house of home, family, and emotional foundations. So we don't know which side of this, which aspect of the fourth house Jupiter will bring out for you, because that's going to depend on your personal chart. But what we do know is the fourth house is angular. So that means you're going to probably feel this transit. It will probably be showing up in your life. And, having the 12th ruler in the fourth is kind of a potential for emotional healing. I'm not saying you need that. I'm saying if you want that, if you're someone who values something like therapy or someone who values something like, dissolving your limiting beliefs from the past or healing or understanding yourself at a deeper level, especially when it comes to like family dynamics or patterns that have repeated that you've subconsciously repeated. We all kind of do this sometimes. If you're trying to get better from any of those kind of things, or from another 12th house thing like getting sober or like quitting a bad habit, understanding why you do a bad habit and what an emotional need you have that you can do instead, these kind of things. This is a good transit for these kind of things. It's also a good time to have growth in the home is going to be the key word of Jupiter in the fourth. So that could be a bigger house, making your house better, right? Jupiter is going to help you make your house better, make your feelings better. That's what it's going to do for Aries. So for Aries, you guys can work with that either way. Sometimes it's going to just happen. Sometimes you can work with it and just get the most out of it. Jupiter ruling the ninth house also, the ninth house is very much a house of, it's the house of God. Okay. So it's the house of beliefs and spirituality, and it's in the fourth house. So the ninth and 12th house ruler in the fourth is really a strong time of getting connected with your soul and your spirit and your emotions and who you really are, clarifying your beliefs to your innermost self, and maybe doing things or having habits where you're, because the fourth house is very private. So it's like studying in private, doing, psychological things or learning about psychology or religion or the subconscious mind, hypnotherapy, anything that is an altered state of consciousness, all of that stuff being something you do in private. So maybe some of you are like listening to hypnotherapy tapes or doing things like that with the intention of making your emotional state better. You might find tools, and maybe tools I haven't mentioned, that support that aim, that goal. Bringing your spiritual practice into a more personal, habit, or kind of studying by yourself, or like reading spiritual texts that are very nourishing, things like this. Now, there's probably a lot more to this transit as we have a year of it, but these are the main things I see Jupiter supporting. Now, if you do other fourth house things, such as are very, like, let's say you're very involved in your hometown, or maybe you are connecting with your parents. Some people might, some people might not. Some people could be starting or growing a family or having growth of family be keywords. Some people could be improving their home in any way. That could be the paint or the exterior, the interior, the people you live with, the vibe of the house, right? Growth doesn't have to be physical expansion. It can, but it can also be like, oh, we're just going to make this room into a sunroom and it's going to be so nice. It doesn't have to be tearing down the walls or getting a bigger house. But for people who maybe are in real estate or, work with houses or homes or something like that, Jupiter could mean like growth in your job. For everyone else, this doesn't feel super career related. It feels more like home related. Like, home life is maybe good. Maybe it's more nourishing. Maybe you have someone cooking your meals for you, or maybe you have time to meal prepping you didn't before. Any kind of things that involve being at home, being more comfortable at home, being more comfortable in your own skin. These are all things I see Jupiter in the fourth house helping Aries with. So it'd be good to kind of pay attention to what shifts at this time, because this transit being a year long is kind of going to give you an idea of what you're looking at right now. Of course, if you have like personal planets at 0 to 5 degrees of Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn, or of Pisces or Scorpio, especially, there's going to be even more influence that are going to factor into other areas of life. Okay, so we're going to go on now to Taurus. Aries, feel free to let me know how that sits with you, whether it resonates. And we're going to go on now to our Tauruses. Okay, so for Taurus, we have Jupiter entering Cancer in the third house on June 9th, 2025. And so the third house rules communication, it rules transportation, and it also rules writing, the act of writing. If you are a Taurus and you just happen to be an elementary school teacher, then this transit will probably be very good for that. But for everyone else, which is most of you, it can be good for, the third house. They say it's the mind, but it's more like, how we communicate with others. And Jupiter in the third could be a time where there's a heightened amount of communication. You could be studying more though, too, because the ninth and third house axis have to do with this is what we know, and this is how we communicate what we know. So expressing what you know and communicating is a huge, huge keyword for Tauruses for this one. Now, there can also be, if you are a Taurus who writes, if you are a writer, if you write anything at all, like songs or like emails at work or anything in between, then the third house rules the act of writing. So you may be doing more writing during this time. And since it's Jupiter, this kind of suggests that it will be mostly positive. I mean, it's not like actually I want to factor in Saturn on this, because to me it almost feels like maybe you'll start something third house related, like writing or a new commute or get a new car or something, or make payments on a car, or do something related to communication or transportation or writing. Writing is communication. But that right now, maybe it's slower, or you're on a short leash or something, it's like Saturn's going to slow Jupiter down in the beginning. So I think we all have to kind of know that Saturn's going to get out of there. And when it does, we might feel Jupiter unencumbered, unrestricted. But maybe some adjustments need to be made. Maybe maybe Taurus wants to write, but doesn't have the time alone, or has so much time alone, they don't have nobody to talk to. Or, it's like Saturn in the 12th is like, we gotta look at our sins, we gotta face our fears. We gotta, do all that private contemplating that's very serious. And Jupiter in the third is like, no, let's just be positive and write about what's possible and be happy in the moment and feel comfortable. So these two are not in agreement right now. As Jupiter enters Cancer, but Saturn will move later in the year. And like I said, we'll get that freedom. So Jupiter rules the 11th house, and it also rules the 8th house. So Intimacy, communications that promote intimacy or promote closer relationships or, help you feel closer to people. And that can be your significant other, that type of intimacy, but it could be just being close to people in general. The eighth house is also kind of transformation and change. So you may find that there are ways of transformation. You find methods of transformation that are involve communication, maybe involve being present with things, not escaping, right? Because Saturn in the 12th is like, we don't want you to escape. We want you to face it, right? That's what Saturn wants you to do, is face the fears, face the negative feelings. So Jupiter might actually support the act of sitting with negative feelings, right? I'm not saying it has to be a horrible thing. But perhaps there is some kind of energy that slows Taurus down a little bit during this time, or just forces a look at, how are we feeling about these things? Maybe there's contracts or negotiations or work stuff that has to be dealt with that's like more private or that's isolating or something. It's almost like, because Jupiter rules at 11th, it's like we have all the friends are in our community. Our friend just moved here, but we have to work in private all day. It's almost like this is a metaphor for Tauruses for around June 9th. Your friend comes to visit, they're there for a month, and your work makes you work 10 hours a day, and you have to work at home and they can't come over. It's like you have all this good stuff, but there's something in the way. There's something making it slower. There's something blocking. Your friends here and they're busy. They have responsibilities. They can't come visit, but they're here. Or they're here visiting and they're stopping you from doing the work you need to do. You have to adjust. Doesn't mean it has to be the worst thing. It's still Jupiter, we're still talking about good things. And then again, Jupiter also is going to represent eighth house in terms of money that's tied up with others. Now, how much this is about money depends on what you're doing, how many eighth house things you're doing. Are you renting or leasing a car? Are you buying a car? Are you selling a car? That would be probably my first guess here, because the eighth house of debt and other people's money is going to create something positive in the third house of transformation. Now, I would say some Tauruses, maybe who are writers, maybe you're getting a grant at this time, or you're working on that, or something, or a student loan. I'm not recommending either way, I'm just saying those things could be showing up here. Or, some of you might be lending money to a sibling, because siblings are in the third house. For those of you whose siblings are a part of your life right now, that might actually be a strong theme. And for those of you who maybe are teachers, you might be teaching classes or learning something. So that is what I have for Tauruses for this transit. Feel free to let me know in a comment if it resonates. I always love hearing from you. Okay, Geminis are next. Gemini, where are we? Jupiter in the second. Okay, so this is a money transit. This is a money transit for Gemini. And you know what I need to do is, I think it's 2016, but I got to check. I did this and then forgot. Yeah, maybe it's 2013. Yeah, 2013. Yes. So June 2013 until July 2013. I want you to think, Gemini, what was happening in your life with money? Was it good for money? Because based on all of this, it should have been. It should have been a time of financial growth. And so you can think about, how did the topic of financial growth show up in your life back then? But then know that because you're 12 years older and hopefully wiser, that it might not be exactly the same. Right? If you went on a trip to Europe and now you're married with kids, maybe it's not another trip to Europe. Maybe it's getting a raise and buying all the things you need for your kids, for example. Okay, so back to the 10th, that we're on the 10th of June. Jupiter will enter Cancer on the 9th. So the first keywords are more money. And Gemini, I can't get away from this. Why? Because Jupiter rules your 10th house of work, and the 10th house ruler in the second is generally a positive sign. So it could be some kind of bonus or raise or something. But maybe there's some kind of commitment involved with Saturn squaring it, or maybe this is the kind of thing for Geminis where it's like, excuse me, where it's like, what am I trying to say? It's like, okay, you're getting a raise, but for the first 3 months, you're going to do the work and you're not going to make more money. Okay, something like that. Um, yeah, sorry, I just got distracted. Back to Gemini. Something where maybe there is an increase in income or an increase of work that will lead to more income. Maybe an increase in learning skills that initially ends up being more responsibility. You don't get the bonus yet, or you start working on it's almost like maybe you start making commission at this time and then you don't get the check for 3 months or something else along those lines where maybe you do make more money and then you have some commitment in your community or with your friends and you're spending more of it and it's like, okay, I'm not seeing the benefit. It's there, but Saturn's gonna do something here to slow it down or to make you have to step up to a responsibility with groups of people in order to get the money. You know, it's like, oh yeah, you're gonna make more money, but you have to be in charge of all these people or you have to give these presentations now or something along those lines. And that could be great news because maybe you want to do that. I don't know. Okay, so then Jupiter also ruling the seventh house and entering the second for some Gemini, especially if your partner is like the breadwinner or whatever, your partner might be making more money or might be spending more on you or might be taking a higher, financial responsibility in the relationship. Maybe your partner gets a raise during this time. And as a result, you are nourished and supported more. Another keyword of the second house is the food in your fridge and your belongings. So maybe Geminis are making the same amount of money and just buying more stuff. And the kind of stuff you're going to buy with Jupiter and Cancer is like food, food and like better food and going to a restaurant or like having someone meal prep for you or buying stuff that is like nourishing to you, buying supplements, buying, things that are like good for you and going to benefit you and or just having more stuff, collecting things. That could be how this transit shows up is like your job, your role in life is going to allow you to have more things. So another way for Geminis, possibly for some out there, it's like you get the company car or something like that where it's maybe it's not even your possession, but because of the job you're doing, you get this benefit that allows you to live in more comfort than you normally would, or have more comfort in more comfortable office, or, discounts at a certain place because of your work, you get furniture discounts or, something like that. Okay. Okay. So you guys are so quiet in the chat today. I had to make sure we're still online. Okay, so we just did Geminis. Geminis, feel free to let me know how this resonates. And if you guys want more of another video, check out the Saturn and Aries video because it is still totally accurate, totally current, I mean. All right, so we are going to move on to Cancers now. Okay. Okay, so for Cancer, Jupiter in Cancer is in your sign. So generally speaking, the thing is that everyone, when Jupiter goes through your sign, your life becomes, it doesn't always promise your life is like magical. But like if you teach, you're going to teach more, right? If you're whatever job you're at, you're going to learn something for it to do more of it or to do, something more. Whatever you're doing, wherever you live, it's like maybe the place you live might become more important or more comfortable. It doesn't, Jupiter going through your sign doesn't necessarily mean Your whole life is going to magically get better, but that the life you have, there might be a major new opportunity or a couple major new opportunities, or maybe the thing you've already been doing gets some steam and gets some growth, and now it's time to keep growing it. Jupiter in Cancer might mean now you are teaching something that knew how to do before. And because you are a Cancer and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, when Jupiter goes through your first house, which is going to, that's when you get the best of Jupiter. So I would say this is good for Cancers, right? Sun, Moon, or Rising means that Jupiter is going to give you an extra blessing here. And again, we all get that extra blessing, but we get the different extra blessings from each planet in different ways. Jupiter in the first house, keywords are more engagement with life, more activity, more comfort, more love, more positive relationship connections, positive friendship connections, learning something, teaching something, or taking on a new project at work or even a new responsibility because Jupiter aspects Saturn in the 10th. So maybe there is some new role, some new responsibility that Cancers are getting here around June that's like, oh, this is a lot of work. And maybe it's the work you exactly want to do. Or maybe it's work that makes you learn something. And you're like, oh, I get to learn this thing. I get to be more myself. And then Saturn's here going, yes, but we need to make sure we're learning the right things. We're doing them properly. Da 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 da. With Saturn in Aries in your 10th, though, Cancer, it makes me feel like some of you may get a bunch of responsibility all at once that you may or may not feel ready for. And you just have to figure it out. It's like I'm going to give an extreme example. It's like you're the assistant and now the boss is out. You have to just become the boss and you have no idea what you're doing. But it's still best to say yes, because at the end of that, you will basically have all the skills have been given. You know what I mean? I'm making it sound so great. Have learned on your own all the skills to just fly up the mountain. But you may not have all the background that would be ideal to excel, but you just got to do it anyway. You just got to figure it out. You've been given the opportunity. Maybe you are slightly amateur at a thing. Now, if you're a Cancer and you're watching this and you're like, I'm not amateur, I know what I'm doing, then I'm not talking about you then. Maybe you do know what you're doing and now you're going to do a new thing that you are new at. And Saturn in Aries is kind of like an amateur that wants to be the CEO. You don't get to be the CEO when you're the amateur. You have to learn, you have to learn one thing at a time. So I'm getting sidetracked here. Let's talk about what houses Jupiter rules for Cancer. We have the 9th house, the house of God, perfect for teaching, perfect for bringing your spirituality into your daily life. Now this can either be like the meaning and fulfillment and spiritual side of that 9th house coming into the 1st house, meaning you are more spiritual during this year. You are pursuing and learning spiritual things, but it can also be the more everyday way of the 9th house. Represents higher education. It represents knowledge, higher learning. You could be learning something technical. You could be learning something about the work that you do that is not spiritual at all, but it's just like the advanced information. And now you're starting in June. It could be something like that. Otherwise, it might be more like, oh, there's this trip I want to take. And you're going to take a trip or do some other 9th house thing, right? Taking a trip, learning something, going far away, speaking another language are going to become an important part of your life during this next year. Other possibilities, because Jupiter rules the 6th house for you, and the 6th house is like our habits, our routines, our time, how we spend our time. Some of the 6th house is solving problems. So you might spend this year figuring out what supplements you need, or you might spend this year trying a different diet. You might spend this year trying different medicine with the doctor. I'm not giving advice to do any of those things. I'm just saying what could happen. Other things that could happen, pets go in the sixth house. So pets could be a really important part of your life in the next year. That's not going to be everyone. Also, your subordinates, if you have employees, maybe your employees are helping make your life better and maybe you need employees to help you get work done. Or if you're not someone who has employees, maybe hiring freelancers. And if you're not someone who would do that either, maybe at your work you get subordinates. That's the traditional keyword, is like people under you that report to you. And this kind of implies that if you are someone that's happening to, that it would have some kind of positive outcomes, because your subordinates are the best they can be this year. Okay, doesn't mean they're going to be perfect. Doesn't mean you'll even have any. But if you do, if you're like, when should I hire someone? I would, if it was me, when my sixth ruler was in its best exalted sign, that might be a good time. But it might also, for those Cancers who relate to this, keep in mind, I try to talk about all the different life scenarios as much as possible that are within reason. Some of you, I don't know. Leave me a comment if you're someone who I've never talked about your life scenario, and tell me what it is so I can try to add some people in here. Okay, so Jupiter in the first being employees make your life better. Having other people do things for you makes your life better, but they're going to slow you down while you're training them, kind of a thing. So it's being slowed down right now, but maybe you have a rock star employee that you're bringing on that you're like totally worth it to train this person, right? You have to adjust, but Saturn also squares Jupiter. Jupiter's the sixth house ruler. So constrictions on time that you have to figure out how to still manage to get more done with. And maybe you are able to do it. It's Jupiter. So there's that as well. So just to recap, Jupiter going through your first house from June until June is amazing for what was I going to say? Just for in general making your life better, your spiritual life, your kind of your like, it's like the quest in life you want to be on. It might not be work related, but work is going to be, there's going to be some kind of time constriction or work thing, or something is just a little bit serious, or maybe just takes a little bit longer than it normally would. It doesn't have to be the worst thing ever, because the whole idea, I should do a whole other reading on Saturn and Jupiter, is that Jupiter brings growth, but Saturn says, hold on, we can't grow that fast. So it's like you're growing within a limitation, or you're creating the limitations that would support growth. That's kind of what it is. Okay, so I think that's it for Cancers. As far as what Jupiter does there, that's really what I think it does. Okay, so we're going to go on now to our next sign, which is going to be our Leos. So for Leos, Jupiter in Cancer is in your 12th house. Now, Jupiter in the 12th house is one you got to really kind of look to see. Okay, you get the best from Jupiter, Leo, in doing 12th house things, which means if you're trying to heal from subconscious problems, if you're trying to be closer to your spirit guides, if you are trying to overcome or help others overcome topics such as addiction or mental health problems or the dark night of the soul spiritually, if you are trying to bring lessons or bring education or bring insight or knowledge into the deepest psychological topics there are, these are all things Jupiter in Cancer is going to help you do. The thing about Jupiter in Cancer is it benefits you the most in your private spiritual life. And so it doesn't mean it's not there, but you kind of have to look for it. You really kind of have to look for that. Jupiter will help you realize things. It will help you see if there's anywhere in your life that you're craving or wanting to stop self-sabotage, and like increase an upper limit and just be able to expand what you can, the good in life that you can handle. And if you've noticed any ways that you've been keeping yourself at a certain level and you want to bust through that limit, I think Jupiter in the 12th house can help you get the inner understanding needed to do such things. Jupiter in the 12th may not be the moment that you are doing those things. It might be the moment that you're figuring it all out. So I would not say not to do stuff during this transit, but Jupiter is going to benefit you the most in private. It's going to benefit you most behind the scenes. It's going to benefit you. Maybe your meditation practice during this time, Leo, gets freaking phenomenal. Okay. So it doesn't mean you can't benefit from it, but it's like the way Jupiter in the 12th works is this is when you do the inner work, and you might be doing a bunch of outer stuff in other ways, but Jupiter will help you do the inner work that's really going to benefit externally once Jupiter enters your sign. So like this Jupiter work is important. The more you do, or the better you use this Jupiter, which is like going within, understanding the self, and doing the best you can at facing your fears and, especially creating spiritual routines that allow you to like listen to spirit or listen to yourself, that kind of thing. The more that when Jupiter enters Leo in a year, you're going to be like, okay, now I'm going to go do this and this and this. But it's like, it can help you ready yourself for that. Okay. So other things Jupiter can benefit you with are I don't know if I said this yet, if you work with topics of addiction, mental health, recovery. Sometimes I see people work in prisons or hospitals with the 12th house. It rules places of isolation and places people go to take time out from their normal life to recover. So prison, hospital, monastery, retreat. There are probably other ones, but those are the main ones that come to mind. Even like a rehab, like I said, hospital, like a rehab of anything, right? It can be like a detox, but it could also be like a physical rehab of like your foot or something. I'm not saying you are going to have to do that. Jupiter in the 12th isn't going to make you do that, but Jupiter in the 12th can help you get closer to God. But it's like Saturn's here in the 9th. Maybe you get more serious about your spiritual life and you're like, I gotta get on this. I care about what happens to my soul when I die. I need to practice these, mantras or whatever, whatever it is that you are feeling like you need to do. Now, this could just be more psychological, where it's learning psychological things that are going to support your own growth, learning the spiritual things that are really going to help you grow. Okay. So sometimes we learn spiritual stuff that's not helpful, right? Sometimes we get a little bit up in the clouds with it and it's not like useful. But this feels like Jupiter in the 12th will help you maximize that, or to maximize this transit. It's about, you're going to get more bang for your buck for the spiritual things you do. So finding the right ones and practicing them, finding the right mantras, finding the right yoga, finding Qigong or whatever other private spiritual practice, breath work, whatever, is going to help you open up and heal, or open up and find new ways of reacting to life. Jupiter can really, really help with that kind of stuff. Now, let's see. Jupiter rules your 8th house of transformation. Same kind of thing. It just makes that all of what I said stronger, because we have your transformation will be more private, but that's not a bad thing. You could literally go to a therapist during this year and get a lot of value out of it, because you are taking the time out in private to solve your problems. Jupiter also rules the 5th house of creativity. So this is going to be creativity. It's going to be children if you have children. It's going to be if you have a small business, if you have a business at all. You might be working behind the scenes in the next year. And it doesn't necessarily mean you only do that, but that you might get more bang for your buck from the things in your business that you do that are behind the scenes. Maybe you're doing a creative passion or a hobby that's behind the scenes that people wouldn't know you're doing, but you're doing it. Maybe you're reading some books or doing some other really cool spiritual stuff. And I think it's possible some Leos might be publishing something, but that's not going to be everyone. The fifth house is a good house. Okay. So it's like the fifth house is a fun house, and the fun house planet is in the 12th house. So there is another indication here with relationships. Not everyone will probably feel this way, but it's worth mentioning because some of you might really just be this, and that is the sexual side of things, because the fifth house rules the dating, and like the pleasure, and then the eighth house rules the intimacy, and they're all in the 12th house, which is where you get the best of that thing, and it's also in private. So some of you might be really enjoying yourselves in private in the next year, and that can be applied to all facets of life. Okay. Enjoying your privacy and enjoying alone time, and finding ways that are just like pleasurable, finding things that are pleasurable. And again, that can be on the sexual side of life or not. It might be the creative side of life. Maybe you're by yourself baking cakes all the time and you're just so happy because that's what you want to be doing. It doesn't have to be that, but it's kind of the idea that you're going to find pleasure through things that are nourishing that you can do on your own or behind the scenes. Yeah, and again, you might be creative, doing some creative stuff that's like a thing that you do by yourself, like painting or drawing or singing or anything. Okay, so I think I covered Leo's pretty well. Also, if you want to know more about this transit, think back to what was happening in your life from June of 2013 to around June of 2014. What things were opening up with your creativity? What were you doing behind the scenes? And keep in mind, you need to like change the flavor a bit to match the season of your life now. Okay, let's go on to Virgos. I'm going to say hi to everyone in the comments and then we'll go to Virgo. So let me do that. It looks like Violet Jellyfish is saying hello. Captain's here, Shauna's here, and Jen Diaz is here. Well, hello everyone, and hello to everyone else watching. We're about to go on to Virgos. I think now is a good time to make some announcements. I have one announcement, which is just join my email list because you'll get the free guide to align your midheaven. You'll get stories from me. You'll get emails when I do a sale, and you'll get a bunch of other emails, and you'll get notified when I launch the next thing I'm doing, which is some stuff on Neptune. So if you want to know more about Neptune and you want to buy my Neptune stuff, get on the list. Okay. So we are going to go on to our Virgos now. Virgo, sun, moon, or rising. We have Jupiter entering the 11th house. So the 11th house is a great house because it's like the house of community. So you can think back to what was happening 2013 around June to 2014 in your life, and try to jog your memory about what positive things were opening up related to the topic of community, of nourishment, right? This could be a money transit for some of you because the 11th house is a money house. And it's like easy money too, usually. So it's like, did you have some easier money? Was money easier? Did you start making more for less? Or was there something else about money that could have been more positive at that time for you? Were you doing stuff in groups more? Were you just in groups of people more that were nice and like comforting and enjoyable to be around? That could have been what was happening. Now, to take this a step further, Virgos, Jupiter rules your 7th house of other people. Other people are nourishing. Other people are comforting. If you are a Virgo, whoever since Saturn went into Pisces in March of 2023 and totally screwed up your friendships or relationships or made you more isolated or had you, separate from people or had to end relationships because maybe they weren't nourishing anymore or they weren't right anymore or felt any sense of people not being as open to you in the last couple years, then now is the time to rewrite that story, to create new relationships, to connect with people who are fun to be around or who has something in common with you or something like that. Okay, so yay for that. Yay for that. Now let's talk about Jupiter ruling the fourth house. The fourth house of home could literally be your home is better. Your home is more nourishing. Your home is more comforting. That could be, what are the comforts of home you enjoy the most? Is it the heat and the couches? Is it the spaciousness or the view? What is nourishing to you? Now, is it possible some Virgos could move? Yeah, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be that life at your house becomes more connected. It becomes more fun. You're doing more. This could be you in your own room, like doing more live streams with people you like. It could be you joining a course where you're learning more. But the idea is that the topic of home is probably affecting this. Other ways this could show up is your own emotional foundation is helping you to make friends or to be more friendly, to be the kind of person people want to listen to or to teach groups of people. And then you might not be teaching though. You might just be like the spiritual one in the group or the person who has the spiritual information that's like nourishing to other people. And then what else? Let me think here. The fourth house is also home. So maybe there is something about your house that you're getting set up. It's like your house is being a place where you can have more comfort. Why? I don't know. Maybe you get a pet or maybe you have more friends over. Maybe you have some parties or something. But even without the fourth house involved, we can just think about in general, your friendships might get better. Your connections to others might get better. You could get connected into a community. Maybe you date someone or you meet a friend who connects you into other people, connects you into the right people, and you get involved in certain communities. Now, this could also be online, right? It could be joining a group of people in your own profession and getting into like some kind of professional association. It could be something else like that. And that could be you teaching stuff or you learning stuff. Yeah, it could be that. Or what else? I mean, the thing is, what is nourishing to you in groups? If you're like me and you like live music, I talked about this in the intro. The last time Jupiter went through my 11th house, I was writing a song, I was singing, I was going to open mics, I was going to these cool coffee shops in Korea where people were playing bluegrass and it was so fun. It was so fun. Like looking back on it, I'm like, that was kind of in some ways the time of my life just because it was such a fun time. Now, does that mean you'll have the whole time of your life and nothing will be wrong? Probably not. But that whatever your current community, okay, community is the word I like to use for the 11th house, is Jupiter will make the community better. So if it's trashed, and you have no community or disconnected, maybe you'll just meet new people. If you already know a bunch of people, well, maybe you'll meet some super cool people during this transit and just your community is going to be more vibrant or more alive and you just get to be a part of it. So, and especially, during this time, June 10th for Virgos, Venus in the ninth is going to sextile that Jupiter with Mercury here. So there really could be something going on around this time that's like musical or spiritual in nature that's really enjoyable to you. Okay, so I think that's what I have for Virgos. Let's go on now to Libras. All right, so Libras, we have Jupiter in the 10th house. Very nice in Cancer. So you get the best of Jupiter in your career, your public image. If you are a Libra who is trying to have a better job, trying to do better stuff at your work, trying to create your own business or something, this is a very good time to pursue those kinds of activities and see how much Jupiter can like help and give a little more oomph, because Jupiter in the 10th is sometimes, now I want to warn you though, to just manage this expectation. Jupiter in the 10th isn't always the moment you get the best job you've ever had. Okay, sometimes you're just learning more at work, right? Because I think that we think that because it's Jupiter, everything about it is going to be a good, fun experience where we're like, oh my God, I love this. Not always. Sometimes you're learning a new spreadsheet and you don't even like spreadsheets, but you need this skill to do your job or something along those lines. And because Jupiter is in Cancer, it does have a more nourishing effect than someone who has, like, you know, their 10th house is Taurus, or like, let's say their 10th house is Aries. When Jupiter goes through there, that's not going to be as nourishing. Now, maybe you're learning and growing in your career to support your own family or something like that. So that could be a thing. But it does feel, what I love about this for you, Libra, is that the 6th house is Pisces and Jupiter is the ruler of that house. When the 6th house ruler is in the 10th, sometimes this is about getting credit for work, is getting recognized. Sometimes you are getting recognized. Now, how much you're going to get recognized is going to depend on a bunch of that you could be recognized for. But also, I just want to, again, I want to manage that expectation that it may not be like famous recognized. Maybe your boss is like, hey, you're doing a really good job. And like people around you just know what you're doing and they're noticing it. Or let me think. Yeah, or maybe even growth. If you're trying to grow a public image, Jupiter can help. It doesn't guarantee that it's like a rocket ship out to space, though. Does that make sense? It might be slow growth for the next year, but nothing wrong with that. And again, you know, going back to Jupiter ruling that 6th house, the 6th house is the house of solving problems. It's the house of sharpening a skill, right? So you might be doing work again that you're skilled at. Maybe you've gotten good at something. What have you gotten good at? That's going to be different for everyone, right? For every Libra out there. And maybe this is the time you get to show off that skill, or that skill is benefiting you in some way in your work. Now let's look at the 3rd house. The 3rd house rules writing. So if you are a Libra who has written stuff, then maybe the stuff you've written becomes more, people become more aware of it. Now, if you're a Libra who's like, no, I don't write stuff, then maybe it's more like how you communicate, or the things that you've said, or the things that you've listened to, and like whatever way that you communicate in your job, especially, is being more recognized. You know, like, this Libra is a good communicator. They told me all these things, you know, or the way they say it is so helpful, or whatever. So maybe that. Now, for some Libras, maybe your car is like taking center stage right now. Maybe you're like fixing up your car, or maybe you are like doing something with your car because like this is your car and it's in the most visible place it could be. That's probably not for most of you the whole transit, but hey, maybe there's one Libra out there who's like, yep, my car, my baby, I made it perfect and now everyone sees me driving in it. It really could be like that. Um, And then let me think what else. Siblings. Okay, some of you, maybe your sibling might be having something good in their life right now, right? Maybe they're having a baby, especially, or maybe they are healing from something. That's not going to be everyone, but for some of you, it might show up that way as well. Sometimes the planets in our chart are not always us, okay? So overall, though, if you're a Libra who's like, how can I get the most out of this transit? I would say, what is going on with how you have with your routine, your time, the problems you've solved so far? Are you going to use those to help other people or to get more recognition in your career, possibly? Some of you, maybe you solved a bunch of problems at work and now you're like, I'm the one who did this. I'm the one who knows all these things. Like you've created that role for yourself. That could be a thing for some Libras. And yeah, just career growth. It's a good time to say yes to opportunities to learn new things in career because even if it's not the stuff you want to learn right now, it's like this is what Jupiter and Cancer is going to offer you. It's going to offer you a chance to grow. That growth might come from a job you don't even know you want. Or maybe you don't want it, but maybe you'll learn stuff from that job that you're going to use for the rest of your life and you don't know it yet. Okay, so this is what I would say about this Jupiter transit for Libras. I just had this one, right? I'm just coming off of this one. I learned a lot of things I never would have wanted to know. It's a fact. But, if you're someone who's like, gosh, I have so much to learn in my career, this is a time to go, yes, to say yes to opportunities because you're going to get more bang for your buck in like being mentored, being taught things, finding the right teacher for whatever it is you want to do that might last for the rest of your life. So this transit, that's the thing about Jupiter. It's not coming back. It's a 1 year thing. It won't come back here for 12 years. So this is it. It's not like you can't learn anything else after that, but you're not going to get it in the easy way or the way that Jupiter is going to give it to you. Okay. So you might have a wise teacher. Be open to that at this time. Okay. So that's what I have for Libras. And we're going to go on now to our next sign, which is going to be our Scorpios. Scorpio, we have this transit for you is Jupiter in the 9th house. Jupiter in the 9th house. So because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, Scorpios get the best of Jupiter going through the 9th. So the next year is the best Jupiter can be in terms of its essential dignity for you, which means maybe you're learning spiritual things. Maybe you are meditating. Maybe you are studying something really a lot. Maybe you're studying something you love to study. I'm trying to think about what this was for me. You can travel. I didn't, but you can travel. You can learn another language. You can be around people who speak another language or dealing with foreigners and get, good things from that. You can have higher knowledge, education of any kind is highlighted here with Jupiter in the 9th. Or, even like the philosophy and the spiritual stuff can be, good here. Another thing I would say Jupiter in the 9th is good for is keeping the hope, man. Keeping the hope and the vision of like what your life could be, right? Because the 9th house is like our quest, it's kind of like the spiritual quest. It's not necessarily the job we want to do. It's more like the mission we want to go on. It's like if we think of the hero's journey, the hero usually gets a no, it's too big. I can't do it. Eventually, usually answer the call, right? They're like, okay, Frodo takes the ring and goes, right? Whatever the story is. Maybe right now for Scorpios, you are answering a call. Maybe you are listening to your spirit. Maybe there is a nagging voice of your intuition saying, do this, do this, do this. Doesn't mean you're going to like go do crazy stuff or, I don't see this as a transit where you're like, okay, I'm going to quit my job and get rid of all my stuff and travel the world. A few Scorpios maybe, but for the most part, we can do this quietly in our time after work, right? Because Saturn's in the 6th, you're going to be doing stuff. You're going to be busy. You're not going to have a million hours of free time. But with the time that you have, you're going to have something important that you want to do that's meaningful. And the thing is depending on what stage of life you're in, it might, the voice of that might be quiet or loud. But it's a good idea to listen. I think it's a good idea to listen. Even if you don't have time, with Saturn in the 6th, Scorpios are going to get some kind of meaningful thing going on. Let me think for a second. Another way to think about this too, is to, let me think for a second. You want to, what you want to do here is, regardless of what's going on in life, think about what matters to you. And then also, you can think about what was happening in your life. Let me get the right year here. 2013. June of 2013 through June of 2014, roughly. Think back to what was happening then related to spirituality, beliefs, religion, higher education, travel, astrology, publishing. Okay, any of those topics or legal matters. Because it's Jupiter in Cancer, don't think that means that you're going to have problems with the law at this time. If you are a Scorpio who the law is an important part of your life, like you're already a lawyer or you're already working in litigation, or you are, you're attorneys, you're a paralegal or something else where your work is related to the law, then work might go really well for you at this time. If you do publishing, those kind of things, or higher education already, well, yeah, this is a good indicator for work related stuff. But if you don't do any of those things, it's not going to be that. So let's factor in now what houses Jupiter rules. The money house. Okay, now this just got a lot more, a lot less philosophical, because when the money planet is in a good place, usually you make more money. Now, is this going to be a temporary 1 year money, or is it going to be long-term money? We don't know that. Okay, we don't know that. But generally, you make more money when your money planet's in a good place. So that's a possibility. And Jupiter rules the fun house. So the fun house, fun by doing what? Fun by going overseas, fun by studying and learning. This can also be, if you are a Scorpio who has your own business, this could be a good time to grow that business, because the planet that rules your own business is in the best house, the best sign it can be in for the next year. Although now, as out of the transit around the 9th of Saturn squaring Jupiter's, oh, we have all this vision we want to accomplish, but we literally don't have time to do all the things. So we have to either have to do it for us or do it. That's kind of how this, I feel like, is playing out. Now, because Jupiter aspects the 6th house planet, it makes me feel like maybe some of this is just about money. Maybe some of this is about how your spiritual practice into your day-to-day life. Maybe you don't have time to do the hour meditation you would like to be doing, so you're going to squeeze something in somewhere, and it's not perfect, but you're going to figure it out, figure out how to make it work, that kind of thing. It's possible too that this is more rural for Scorpios, where it's like you're making more money through 9th house things, you're starting a course, or you might be spending your money on 9th house things. You might be buying courses, you might be buying books, you might be buying a trip overseas, or like especially an astrology course, or especially a spiritual course, but it could be anything. You could be investing into something that the 9th house is also like to prepare us for our work. So you might be doing like a certification thing that once you complete it, you can make more money, kind of a thing. That can also be happening. So we have the overall Jupiter in Cancer, general good things for family and for things that are nourishing to us, and growth in life in general. And then we have growth through the 9th house of those particular topics. And maybe you are either investing money into it. It might have to do with a business. It might have to do with things that are fun, 9th house things that are fun. Or it might have to do with just going overseas, learning a new language, legal things that are better, or things like that, or publishing something. Okay, so there's a wide range of possibilities, and Yeah, I do think that what this transit is good for Scorpio is going to be things like business, your own business if you have one, creative things if you're artistic or creative in any way, or even possibly money. But it could be getting more money, but it could also be spending more money on things that matter. So that's what I have for Scorpio. Let me know if it resonates. And we're going to go on now to Sagittarius's. All right, so for Sagittarius's, Jupiter enters the eighth house of other people's money, transformation, intimacy, taxes, things like that. So Jupiter in the eighth for the general more, wait, did I put it on here? Yes, I did. Okay, for the general more kind of energetic side of this transit, it's like you might open up during this transit, Sag. You might feel closer to people. You might be around people you can trust or have one or more people who you can develop more trust with. And that's a nourishing part of life. That sounds really nice. And you might also want to face some fears or expand your comfort zone because the eighth house is like our comfort zone. And it's not our comfort zone. It's how we transform. And sometimes the way we transform is by getting past our comfort zone, right? So it's possible Sagittarius's might be facing some fears and having some sort of healing or just being able to say, yeah, I conquered that. Okay, so that's that. Now, greater intimacy might show up in relationships. Sagittarius might make commitments, might just, again, feel closer or like a deeper connection with a person or more than one person. And that can be like intimacy, like with your one-on-one partner kind of intimacy, or it can be like the way you develop trust with a friend and you just feel seen and you just feel like you can relate to people. And okay, so then Jupiter ruling the fourth house in the eighth house, it kind of emphasizes similar things because the fourth house is our emotional foundation. And what is the emotional foundation doing? Well, it's doing the best it does, right? Because Jupiter is going to give you the best it can in Cancer, but it's doing it through other people. So it doesn't mean you can't, actually it does. I'm going to say it. If you're going to heal in the next year, it's going to be with other people. It's not a time to try to do shit yourself. And I say that because I'm also a Sagittarius. But it's a time to get better through other people. It's a time to share. This transit is good to share with others and let them share with you and be connected to a community. But through these one-on-one connections. It might not be community. I should not have said the word community. Be connected to other humans. Now, for some Sagittarius, especially if you're one who wants to develop intuition and talk to spirit guides or channel or things like this would be a very good transit to develop those skills because your emotional foundation, your feelings, your deeper innermost self is going to do its best at what's beyond the veil. Now, okay. It could go a couple ways. You developing the skills of intuition and stuff and psychic work, or you buying reading or like connecting with a good, Akashic Records reader or whatever else, you want to do especially mediumship, or like healing from grief and loss because the eighth house is also death. It doesn't mean someone will die. Most likely it's not like that. Maybe it's more like I want to connect with the passed on loved ones in my life and feel their presence. If you want to do that kind of stuff, Jupiter in the eighth is here for you to do that. And you can also think what was happening in your life from 2013 to 2014 related to any of these topics. But keep in mind, you're a new person now. So if you're like me and like 12 years ago, you didn't know anything about this stuff, it doesn't mean you're limited to that. The planet can express in any way, but sometimes it can give you the vibe of like Who were you getting to know back in 2013, June of 2013 and 14? How were you getting to know people more closely? What kind of collaborations were you doing? Or how were you splitting money with people? Things like that. Because those kind of things might factor in. Now, I would think with Jupiter in the eighth, topics related to sharing finances with other people, especially like roommates or like family members, like where you live together and you each pay half the rent kind of a thing, or other situations where, okay, we're writing a song together and we need to pay for the studio. So I'm going to pay for this much and you're going to get this much. These things can go in your favor, which kind of usually means that maybe the other person will pay more, or maybe someone pays for something and then you do something else. And that that doesn't have to be dirty. But it can be like, you're providing this and they're providing the money, and then, you make a deal with someone or something like that. Maybe someone helps you. Maybe a parent especially contributes to your life financially, helps you pay off debt or gives you a loan or something like that. Okay, so then Jupiter also rules your first house, which is you and your life direction, which just means that even more you're going to be focusing on eighth house things. Maybe Sagittarius is for the next year, or like we really want to pay off our debt, or we really want to invest and like generate some more income from some kind of other thing, something that is like not some passive income, like interest or taxes, or like investing in the stock market or investing in a portfolio, things like this. So you might be focusing on how to learn what you need to know to do that kind of stuff, or something along those lines. Just like getting your finances in order and heal. It's like Jupiter wants to heal your finances. And this is an example of how that you might not become a millionaire. You might just learn how to pay off debt. You might learn the rules of how long a debt is there for, and you might learn better financial habits so that you don't have any more debt in the future. This might not be fun if it's that, you know what I mean? But Jupiter is going to help you make your eighth house better. So it can only start from how your eighth house is right now. And then it will help you make it better from there. Okay, so if you have no debt and you're thinking about money, it's probably going to be more like, how can I grow more? Where can I put my money to make it grow more in the future? What am I going to do when I retire? What's my plan? Stuff like that, fun stuff like that. Now, growing intimacy can also be sex, especially if you are in a long-term relationship. It could be a thing where there was a thing that stopped the intimacy before and now that's gone and now we're really happy. Like maybe there was a small child at home that's no longer there, or other things that can kind of disrupt that area of life. And then we just have this unencumbered kind of freedom of, and I can't say unencumbered because Saturn's still here, but it's like, I don't know. It's almost like we're intimate within limits right now around June, but then maybe that opens up later in the next few months and we become intimate without limits. Okay. So just take that as it resonates, because that won't be everyone. Why? Because some of you all are single and it's going to stay that way. But if you're single and you don't want to be, Sagittarius, this is not only a good time to get physical with someone. It might be a really good time to really get to know people deeply, create bonds with people, create connections with people. And, life is better together. And in order to do this, you got to be open, because the eighth house is opposite the second. The second house is all about like, we want to stay focused on our own goals. But Jupiter in the eighth is like, you're going to get the benefits of this transit if you're sharing with other people. They might share back, and it's like there might be some good trust built during this time. Okay, I would also say this is a good transit to do therapy if you are someone who wants to. Why? Because your emotional foundations are going to transform. So use it to your advantage by transforming them on purpose, by, going with that and intentionally doing that. Okay, going on to our next sign, which is Capricorns. Okay. Capricorn, Jupiter is entering your seventh house of relationships. And whether Jupiter is going to rain blessings on your relationship kind of depends on the status of it at the moment. So we're looking at June 9th and 10th. The way this could factor, this could, sometimes I see this is not always like, okay, Jupiter makes relationships better. But what does it take for Jupiter to make your relationship better? Depends on one, are you even in one? And two, what state is it in? Is it in a state where it's not ever going to get better and the best thing to do is end it? Is it in a state where it's just fine? And now we're having more trust and communication and, things that are nourishing to both people? Is it in some other state that I haven't mentioned? So just know that Jupiter will make your relationships with others better, but that it's starting from wherever you are in relationships now. If you're totally isolated, maybe you make one friend. If you're like me and you're an isolator, maybe you just make a new friend who like teaches you stuff. Maybe you make a new friend who's like just really nice. Or maybe you make several new friends. If you're a Capricorn who wants to meet people, who wants to make one-on-one friends, do it. Now is a good time. Now is a good year to do that. If you're a Capricorn who is already in a marriage or a long-term committed relationship and it's going okay or good, then Jupiter is probably going to bring closeness or support or the ability to pay for more things, or sometimes you and your spouse can just do more stuff and it's more nourishing because you can pay for things and it's enjoyable. But Jupiter also rules your 12th house. So if you and your partner have any kind of hangups that are messing you up, if you guys have stuff to deal with, Jupiter is probably going to bring that up to be dealt with. Not the way Saturn would, where Saturn will just be like, here you go. Here's all the problems. Deal with it. Jupiter is going to be like, here's some solutions. Here's some solutions to the self-sabotage or the fear of intimacy or fear of commitment or whatever y'all got going on. But why is it like that? Because Jupiter rules the 12th house of self-sabotage. Okay, so are you self-sabotaging in your relationship? If yes, Jupiter will help you find solutions to that. And it might be like relationship stuff gets more difficult during June, July, August while that square is activated. But there's still awareness of the fact that there is a solution. There might be problems with home. It's like, it might not be huge stuff. It might be little stuff where home and relationships are actually not seeing eye to eye. So it's almost like struggles with sharing space with each other, or maybe you can't move in together and you want to and you just have to deal with it until you can. Some kind of conflict like that might be going on. But Jupiter in the 7th is going to bring still good things in relationship with other people, whether it's your partner or some other people, partner or friends. Okay, 3rd house in the 7th. 3rd house is communication. So you might just be having good conversations with people in the next year. Maybe you learn how to communicate to your partner in a way they actually get what you're trying to say. Maybe they learn that and do it to you. Maybe they start hearing what you have to say. Maybe you feel heard by the other people around you during this transit, and it's really nice. There's other things with the 3rd house. So it could be a sibling you get closer to during this time. It could be, and if yes, it's probably a positive thing. It could be your car gets more mileage at this time. And it can also be something like you and your partner have always wanted an RV and you get one. And now you get to go camping in the summer. It can be something like that where something 3rd house related, such as some kind of automobile, is a source of comfort in relationships. Now, it could be something totally else that's not an automobile. It could be like talking and communicating. If you're a writer, maybe there's something you're writing that somehow brings connection to other people. that kind of thing. So that was kind of short and sweet, but really, Jupiter's going to make your relationship better, Capricorn. But the question is, what's the status of it now? And it does feel, again, because in June, we have Saturn here being like, nope, you can't do it very fast. You have to follow the rules, do it within limits, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you can. I'm just thinking of all these possibilities. Like maybe you move back in with your parents and they're like, oh, yeah, you can't sleep in the same room together. Or like, something else where, again, it's like you can't live together yet, or something about the home environment is limiting to the relationship that's temporary, or something else. Okay. So overall, relationships better, good time to meet people, good time to make your relationship better in whatever way it can be made better. And if you're not in one, I would, if it's me and Jupiter's going through my seventh, I'm like, I'm going to go out and talk to people and try to meet someone, because you get more bang for your buck from relationships during this year. Okay, going on now to our Aquariuses, Capricorns, let me know how that resonated. Okay. Aquarius is going to be Jupiter in the sixth house. So when Jupiter goes through your sixth house, I don't want to make this seem like a downer, but I'm just going to be real with you, Aquarius. It's more about fixing things that are wrong. Okay, I have Jupiter in the sixth house, and it helps me fix things that are wrong. It doesn't, like, the challenge with the sixth house is that it doesn't go further than that. It's like if the light bulb breaks and you fix the light bulb, you just had to fix the light bulb. Your life, you're not going to live a more amazing life. You just now have the light turn on when you turn it on. Okay. So this is sixth house stuff. Is the stuff in our life, like our health, like our work, like our routines, that we do because we get the benefit of, because if we don't do them, we lose something, right? We lose our health if we don't work out. We lose the light if we don't fix the light bulb. We lose our car if we don't change the oil. That is the energy of the sixth house, is like doing the things you got to do so you don't have problems. You're going to do more of this when Jupiter goes through your sixth house. What does that mean? Is it possible that like you have to change your oil more, or like there's something going on that you have to actually do more work? Yeah, it is possible you have to do more work when Jupiter's in the sixth, because the thing that needs to be maintained requires more to maintain. Okay? Maybe it's a good thing that you want, though. We don't know. What could you be doing when Jupiter goes through your sixth in Cancer? Well, you could be getting your health on track, or figuring out what supplements or what activities or what habits are going to be more nourishing to you. You could be working on something now that you are not getting paid for, that you anticipate someday you could. You could be building a skill that is not making money, that you want to make money off of. Okay, so you could be, the idea of the sixth house, though, is like you're doing the work, you're not necessarily making the money. So if you are like doing new work, it's like maybe you don't get paid more yet because you haven't mastered the skill. You just get the more work. You know what I mean? It's still a gift. It's still a blessing. It's just the kind of blessing that you're not going to get the benefit of today, because it's a sixth house thing. This is what the sixth house does. So this is where you get the best of Jupiter, though. So because it's in Cancer, we can factor in that it's a little bit more positive than that. So what can you be doing when Jupiter's in your sixth? You could be fixing your finances, because Jupiter's your money planet. Getting better at how you spend your money, creating a positive financial habits. You could be spending your money on your health, or getting new pets and like paying for them. You might have pets go to the vet. You got to pay for that. It's your money goes into the sixth house. You might pay for like a housekeeper or something. Or you might be paying employees. And if you pay employees, it does have the implication that they're going to possibly you'll get more out of it. What does that mean? Well, maybe you figured out how to buy the cheapest labor, or maybe you figured out how to hire a really good person, and or got lucky. You lucked out and this good person is going to work for you. But you might also be doing work because Jupiter is still in your sixth house. So money planet in the sixth house is generally okay, planets in the sixth generally aren't good. But it's Jupiter, so it is good, and it's a money planet in a money kind of a money house. It's the sixth house isn't a money house, it's a work house. So again, learning a thing that is going to take you a year that you think is going to make you money later. That's kind of one of the best things with Jupiter, or you can be doing a certain kind of work that will benefit you in the future. So when Jupiter went through my sixth, I was making my North Node videos, and I wasn't making any money. I barely got any clients at that time because my channel was new. I didn't know if it was gonna grow, but they did grow. They grew the most of any other video I've ever done. Now, that might not be you, right? Because you might not have a YouTube channel, but you might be working on something that is going to benefit you. I can't promise, but with the hope that it will be an investment, it's like you invest your energy in the sixth house. Okay, so we also have Jupiter ruling the 11th, which is your friends and community. So community might actually bring you work. Maybe you have friends who are helping you find work. Maybe it's that. Maybe you're working with friends on a project that you care about that you're not getting paid for, but you want to be doing it. Or maybe you're working with friends to get more work and you're like trying to drum up business with each other, together. Maybe you're working in a group setting at work that aren't your friends at all. And you are working with others on a project that, again, is like something about it is maybe taking more time now because it's just in that stage where you really have to nurture it. Maybe you're spending your time nurturing that. So this can show up in so many ways for Aquariuses. You can be nurturing your health and just learning and getting to know what you need to know to do the testing and stuff to give yourself the most nourishing, healthy lifestyle you can. You can be learning how to solve health problems. You can be, and that might involve like becoming aware of what they truly are, kind of a thing. So if you're an Aquarius who's like, I really want to get to the root cause of my eczema or something else like that. I'm not diagnosing anything, but Jupiter might help you find the right person who can help you actually identify what the solution to the problem is. And it might be through finding the root cause, or it might just be through finding solutions. Now, because Saturn's in the third, Jupiter in the sixth, I do feel like Aquariuses will be busy during this transit. It does feel like there's more to be done. But again, solving the problem of how to do more with less time, solving things and having a really structured daily schedule that doesn't allow you to just go do everything you want to do. And having to kind of figure out which things to focus on might also be part of what's going on for Aquariuses right now. Okay, so we're going to go on now to Pisces. Aquarius, let me know how that resonates. And we have our last but not least sign. All right, Pisces, Jupiter in your fifth house. Jupiter's in the fun house. Okay, so this means fun. This means dating, okay? If you're a single Pisces, I really want you to date right now. And I want you to consider saying yes for the next year. I don't mean to things you don't want, but it's like you might meet someone during this transit who you just date and it's wonderful. And just know that you are not always going to get this much good energy around dating because Jupiter's really going to give you a boost. So whatever positive things open up related to dating, sex, romance, they might not last beyond the year. So enjoy them while you have them, if you so choose. And then also, the fifth house isn't just dating. It's also kids, self-employment. So does that mean every Pisces will have a kid? No. but some might either have a child, or you might have your kids you already have. Their lives make your life better. So it's like maybe they're in a stage where they are just so freaking cute, or they're doing things that, like, you get to go to their soccer games, or maybe there's just a stage of life of your kids, of their ages and everything, that maybe it makes you really busy, or maybe you have to spend a lot of money on them, but it's like maybe it's one of the best seasons of life as a parent if you're a parent right now. If you are not a parent and you don't want kids, just ignore that part, and we'll talk about how it affects maybe like a self-employed person. If you are self-employed, Jupiter is going through your house as self-employment, making it better. Does this guarantee you'll have all the success in the world? Not if you haven't done anything, not if you don't have a product or service. I think when Jupiter went through this for me, I didn't have a lot of clients because I hadn't figured out enough things yet to do that, So don't think that it guarantees success in self-employment. It will just make it better. So if you're learning how to start a business, Jupiter might help you find the right teacher or mentor to create the business or to make the business better. If you already have a business, then Jupiter might help you get more clients and just do it better. If you do something creative, whether it's for your work or otherwise, Pisces, Jupiter might help you to, enjoy that more and produce more creative things, and, just get into enjoyment and pleasure. You might be going to the beach more. You might just be having fun more. You might do entertaining things more. There might be something about this next year of your life where you get to enjoy life in ways you weren't, or just have more fun. Okay. So Pisces, you can also keep in mind, where is your ascendant? If your ascendant is early Pisces, because you're watching this, you're going to be a Pisces sun, moon, or rising. So whichever you are, if that sun, moon, or rising is at between like 0 and 5 degrees of of Pisces, then this transit's really going to hit you now, and you're going to get more of the good things now because it's going to aspect your ascendant. So keep in mind, when the degree of Jupiter matches the degree of your sun, moon, or rising, that will be a moment where some of the effects of this transit are more pronounced for you. So don't be super disappointed if on the 9th or the 10th of June, you're not like the happiest person on the planet. Maybe it hasn't hit you yet. Okay, what else? Jupiter rules you, so your life direction is more fun. The things you're doing are more enjoyable. That might be that you got a job. Now you're working harder and you can spend more money on the things you want to do. It could be that what else could it be? Just like it's concert season and you're going to concerts, right? So I would say, if you are single, absolutely you must be dating Pisces, because that's how you're going to get the most out of this transit. If you are already, your relationship's fine and it's handled, and it's not changing, then enjoy your partner. You know what I mean? Like, do dates with your partner and have fun. And have fun with friends. That is the advice. Okay. That is the deep spiritual advice of this transit, is have fun with friends. Now we also have your Jupiter rules your 10th house of your career, your reputation. Now, maybe Pisces is getting some credit for their work, or you're just enjoying your work, because the planet that rules your reputation in a positive house kind of implies that you're more likely to be known in a positive way for what you're doing at work. But right now, Saturn's here, squaring. So it's almost like maybe you are doing the work, but you're not getting paid the good money for it yet. Maybe you're just getting paid the regular money for it, and you won't get the raise until, let me see when this is. I think it's a few months away when Saturn goes back. Yeah, it's in September. So it almost feels like whatever you're doing from June till September of 2025, Pisces, it's like you're doing the thing that you're going to get recognized for this next year, but that it's also within a certain limit. Maybe you're putting in the time to learn something or to get better at something that has the potential to be very nourishing or very enjoyable to you, but that you're doing it within limits right now. Okay, let me think what else. Um, Maybe that was it because I just let out the biggest sigh ever. Let me think. Yeah, also it does feel like June, you're coming to it's a busy time, usually when Mars is in your sixth. And yeah, it does feel like financial commitments, taking financial responsibility, and yeah, reputation. I mean, reputation, public image, these are some of the big things that this transit might support with. So think about 2013 to 2014, June 2013 to 2014. What was going well in your work? What was going well? What was it about? Was there something about what you were working on in your work that you made? Was there something like in your public life was really fun for you or really create involved things that you'd enjoy? Um, and I mean, that's kind of it. Like, think about that stuff. Think about how life was really pointing you toward growth when it comes to pleasure. How are you having more pleasure in life? These might be different ways now because you're 12 years older and wiser, right? You might not be doing the stuff you were doing years ago, but, or you might have been so, some people it's were a teenager and you can't always tell as much from the stuff when you were a teenager to see what was happening then. And yeah, I mean, overall, Pisces, I would look forward to this transit. I would think about where your sun, moon, or rising sign is and mark that on the calendar as a time of potential growth and positive things. And that's what I would do with this transit. If you have a business, Jupiter will help you grow that business. But how much that growth happens depends on where you're at with it. If you don't know anything, then maybe it's going to help you learn the basics. If you already have a market, maybe Jupiter is going to help you figure out more specifically who your target is, etc., etc. Okay? So I expect good things for Pisces. Oh, oops, I think I forgot to put my camera. What happened to my camera? Okay. I don't know how long my camera was off for, but hopefully you guys can hear. It looks like Quora is saying the audio broke up for a bit. Hopefully it fixed because I just kept talking. um yeah, okay, so I'm gonna check on the comments here. Very interesting. So this would be, Quora saying I have Saturn and Cancer in the seventh house. When Jupiter goes through the sign of your Saturn, it's still gonna make it better. It's still gonna make it better. Um, that's kind of what I can say. Yeah, and it might offset a little bit of the whatever challenge Saturn normally causes there. So yeah, that's like the overall gist of it. And what else? Okay, now is a good time to let you guys know to join my email list, which is where you get emails from me telling you stories and stuff. And also, I'm going to do a little course on Neptune. I'm going to release that. I don't know when I get it done. That's when. So you should get on my email list if you want to know about that because that is how get first dibs on everything from me is my email list. Okay, so that is what I have for Jupiter in Cancer. Just a little reminder about Jupiter in this transit is that when Jupiter enters Cancer, Saturn is going to be there squaring. So it won't necessarily be Jupiter unencumbered. It's like growth within limits. Growth, but you have to prove yourself first. Growth, but we need to identify, if it's nutrition, it's like, okay, you can only you only, you have to control things a bit. It's like growth within control in a controlled environment rather than a free environment. Growth where you have to prove you can do this thing before you can do the next thing. That kind of thing. So just know that if in June you're not like, yippee, everything's amazing, you can thank Saturn for that. Now, Saturn's going to be back and forth, right? But it will be going back into Pisces in September. And during that time, we're going to get Jupiter in Cancer without that influence of Saturn slowing it down. So just because it goes slow in June doesn't mean it's going to stay slow forever. Saturn's not going to be squaring Jupiter as directly, as acutely as it would otherwise. So that is what I have for this transit. I've been looking forward to this one. I'm wishing you guys the best Jupiter in Cancer that it can possibly be. And if you want more and you are in the mood to watch more videos, I do have another video on Saturn entering Aries, so you can check that one out as well. I hope you have a beautiful week, and I will see you beautiful